Hello and welcome to the Comic Cave. I'm Ramsey, aka Captain Away, and today I'm looking at the 2016 to 2018 series Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, part of the DC Rebirth. Way back in 1988, when comic books were first trying to be more dark and grown up, Alan Moore wrote The Killing Joke. In this story, OG Batgirl Barbara Gordon, now retired and living at home with her dad Commissioner Jim Gordon, was shot in the spine by the Joker. Through the various reboots of the DC Universe that have happened since, this story continues to be canon. Barbara lost the use of her legs, but she didn't lose her spirit, and so she continued to fight crime from her computer under the new identity of Oracle. With Black Canary Dinah Lance and the Huntress Helena Bertinelli, Barbara would go on to form the super team, the Birds of Prey. With the New 52, DC rebooted all their comic timelines and gave Barbara back the use of her legs through an experimental technology, as I covered in my video on that series. So she no longer had need for the Birds of Prey and primarily worked on her own from then on. But following the next DC reboot with the DC Rebirth, sisters Julie and Shauna Benson, who had previously written as a team on the CW's The 100, decided it was time for Bab's solo career to come to an end as they reintroduced a new Birds of Prey. So let's see how that went and take this away. The comic opens with Batgirl dropping in like a badass to put the beat down on some bad guys. Oh yeah. Now that's how you introduce a character. This is actually all part of an introduction comic that came out before the series actually started, and appropriately it kicks the series into high gear right out the gate. Also, a lot of the issue is just the recap that I already gave you if you watched the introduction, so you're welcome. What Babs learns while kicking bad guy butt is that they were there to pull off their nefarious deeds due to some intel they got from someone named Oracle. Worried about her good name being put to bad use, Batgirl decides it's time to put the band back together and so goes to meet up with her old pal Black Canary. Dinah Lance is just coming off of a solo series where she was the lead singer of her own band called Black Canary. And apparently she is still hanging around them as sort of an unpaid bodyguard. That's a bit weird, Dinah, but whatevs. BG explains the situation to BC, and together they go to track down the boss of the thugs Batgirl beat up in the opening, Louis Tironi. But unfortunately for the intrepid duo, it looks like Tironi is already on someone else's naughty list. Meet the Huntress. Damn, she looks cool. Another awesome introduction of a character. The Huntress is a bit complicated to explain. She started out as the daughter of Batman and Catwoman from another universe named Helena Wayne. Yeah, that was a thing. After one of DC's many universe-wide reboots, she was reimagined as Helena Bertinelli, the only survivor of a murdered mob family, who hits the streets of Gotham looking for bloody revenge. Following the New 52 reboot, Helena Wayne comes back into existence as the Huntress, and Batgirl and Canary even teamed up with her briefly in the New 52 Batgirl title. But Helena Bertinelli also seemed to exist in the New 52 universe, though she was an agent of the super secret spy organization Spiral, where she was Dick Grayson's partner for a time, until she became the head of the organization. But Spiral, like any super secret spy organization, was a mess, and eventually Helena gave it up to a man who legitimately calls himself Tiger. Without Spiral to give her direction, Helena goes back to her character origin, seeking revenge for the death of her family, having already started with this creature. And since that includes Louis Tironi, she and the birds are soon fighting over a man. And when the good guys fight, nobody wins, because before either of them get their hands on Tironi, they find him suddenly dead from mysterious animal bites. This is actually a plot thread left pretty open and not ever explained directly, especially since they quickly changed the subject back to who is Huntress and who is Oracle. With Tironi dead, they go looking for his boss, a guy named Santo, at his very tacky home, as the location caption so nicely confirms for us. But once again, Huntress is ahead of them, having apparently torn through his mansion, including his weird zoo, before finally getting to Santo and trying to drown him in his own porcelain fountain. If only you'd been just a little less tacky, Santo. Also, once again, the ladies are not alone, as the answer to the kinda skimmed over mystery of who killed Tony Pepperoni is the sexiest snake man ever. Or at least, he definitely thinks so. Everyone fights Asp the Snake Man, who seems to be impervious to regular attacks, but not Canary's Cry. With him out of the way, Babs and Huntress start arguing, and I have to say, I am a big fan of Claire Rowe's art, but I cannot get over how weird Barbara's lips look in this shot. What is that? I do love the face Canary is making, though. She's just so not caring. She's like, whatever, we're just gonna invite her to be part of the team anyway. So Batgirl calls in her pops to put Santo into protective custody, as he has some information on a new mob kingpin named Finis. While the birds, now a trio, track Oracle down to a server farm, which, like the location caption says, is like a farm without the hogs, the crops, or the farm part. So, nothing at all like a farm, really. Oracle had set the farm to self-destruct, but Batgirl manages to get the data she needs just before they're all killed by an explosion. The information leads them to believe a mob meeting is going to be hid, so the birds head to the restaurant. A Mexican restaurant, because even mobsters like margaritas. I love these captions. I also love this guy's complete non-reaction to the gang bursting through the window at them. Just a Tuesday in Gotham. A Taco Tuesday. But when Taco Tuesday does actually prove to be sacred ground, the gang realizes that the real action is at the safe house Schmafe House. And sure enough, Asp and his entire gang of snake people show up to the party at the safe house. As the team's tango, Huntress saves the commissioner's life by killing one of the snake men, something Barbara is initially pretty unhappy about. So Huntress goes off on her own, deciding she's had enough, and tries to track down the snake people and Finis on her own. They prove a little bit too much for her, but the rest of the gang manage to pop in to save the day, and make a quick Tim Burton Batman reference. Nice. At this point, Barbara is finally able to track down Oracle to his home base, and they get there only to find that he's the world's biggest Batgirl fan. Oh shit, they found me! Oh, no, it's this guy. Hey, he may be creepy, but at least he washes his hands. Good for him. This guy, Gus Yale, was able to put together the fairly obvious fact that Oracle disappeared around the same time that Batgirl returned to Gotham and Barbara Gordon got back from her experimental leg surgery. He's a lot less on top of figuring out who Batman is, though, but I do love how Batgirl just goes with his theory. I mean, he is kind of describing Batman Inc., which was kind of like that, so sure, why not? The reason Gus was trying to figure out who Oracle was in the first place was because he had been just a regular hacker until the day that one of his hacks got him noticed by Oracle, and she called on him for help. So Gus became obsessed with the idea of Oracle and began trying to figure out all he could about her, especially why she disappeared. I just love the portions of the comic that take place inside Gus's head. They're so ridiculously silly. Like here, why do all the people in his mind suddenly become Muppets? What is that? I don't know, but I kinda love it. Especially with how weirdly good Claire Rowe is at drawing people looking like Muppets. We also learned that Gus has been the one providing the location captions, which is kind of weird because that's breaking the fourth wall in an awkward and completely unnecessary way. But I guess you can kind of look at it like this part of the story is how he views the events in his mind, and the way he views the events would obviously be in comic book format. Surprisingly, Gus claims to not be an enemy, but a friend, even asking to join the birds. Huntress and Canary are all for defenestration. That's a fancy word for throwing someone out a window, very useful in comic books, so you're welcome. But Batgirl decides to give him a chance on a trial basis. So the birds continue on their hunt for Finis, tracking her down to the Majestic, the theater where Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered. Also, the Majestic still somehow plays Zorro movies? What? There's a big showdown here with Finis, Santo, the Snake Men, some cops, and some mafia types that Gus called in to help the BOP. As everyone fights the snakes, Huntress confronts Finis, who, it turns out, is Helena's mom. What? So back in the long before, Maria Bertinelli here fell in love with Santo, but was married to Helena's father. Since Papa Bertinelli wouldn't give her a divorce, she decided, let's just kill him. What she didn't count on was the age-old grudge between Santo's family and her husband's, and so like a new alpha lion, Santo murdered not just the father, but the cubs as well. Though they did somehow miss Helena. Maria, who didn't want her children to be killed, had to be dragged from the room, which Helena, as a child, assumed they did in order to kill her. So Helena and Maria both ended up moving back to Italy to start a new life, both believing that the rest of their family was dead. With Venice, Santo, and the Snake Gang all in jail, we move on to a little standalone issue that sees Black Canary and Huntress going undercover in these ridiculous disguises in order to investigate Barbara's realtors who keep trying to break into her clock tower base for some reason. It's actually a kind of fun break from all the superhero action of the previous story, and we get to see a nice callback to Helena as a teacher as she finds reasons to dislike all the different apartments they're looking at, and ends up teaching us what a grotesque is. Wow, fun and informative. Thanks, Miss Bertinelli. The issue even ends with them hanging out in Barbara's apartment, having a sort of Galentine's Day celebration. We are laughing, and we are very good friends. Good buddies sharing a special moment. We move on to a story where the team learns about a metahuman teacher that seems to be helping metas improve their powers. As the only meta in the group, Black Canary again goes undercover to investigate. As herself. Oh wait, no, as Nightingale Noir. Oh yeah, real clever disguise there, Dinah. I'm sure nobody will make connections between Black Canary and Nightingale Noir. At least you'll give a convincing name for your alter ego, right? Donna. Oh yeah, you're fooling everybody now. That name is actually so similar, when someone calls her Donna later to Batgirl, I'm not sure Babs even notices that they said the wrong name. The fighting arena here is possibly a reference to the old Birds of Prey TV show episode Gladiatrix, which was also possibly referenced in Justice League animated series episode Meta Brawl. So accordingly, this is an underground fighting arena run by Roulette, using only metahumans and with a secret alternative agenda. That agenda is to find skilled fighters for this lady, Blackbird. Blackbird is the person training all the metahumans, and initially Canary thinks this is to build an army, but it turns out that Blackbird is actually powering these people up so she can steal their powers from them, letting all their hard work pay off for her. One of the powers Blackbird has stolen is hypnotism, allowing her to take control of Canary and turn her against her former friends. But they're able to help her overcome the hypnotism and join them in defeating Blackbird thanks to the power of friendship. No, really. It gets pretty My Little Pony up in here. With magical friendship locking Blackbird up tight, we move on to more of Gus's backstory as we learn a little more about how he became Oracle. After he started trying to call himself Oracle initially, a man came to him looking for the real Oracle. This stranger forced Gus to work for him, taking him under his wing and teaching him the tricks of the trade. The trade of selling information to bad guys, that is. And that man is none other than classic Birds of Prey villain, the Calculator. His name is Calculator? Really? Look out, he might do some math at you. Be careful about pushing his buttons. I'm sorry, I'll stop. Wait, one more. If Gus is his sidekick, shouldn't he be called Abacus Boy? Where was I? Oh, right. Shockingly enough, Calculator isn't here to subtract the Birds of Prey from life, but to actually ask them for help. It seems one deal he made went horribly bad, and now his family, who have no idea who he really is, has been kidnapped and are being held for ransom, until TerraCare, the company that's holding them, get back what was taken from them. What was taken was some diamonds by Catwoman. Oh, and a formula for fertilizer that she was actually hired to steal. Hired by Poison Ivy herself. It seems Ivy had been investigating TerraCare, which was selling a supposedly eco-friendly fertilizer, but something in the fertilizer was actually killing bees. TerraCare didn't care about the bees, but Ivy did, and she's right. The world wouldn't survive without bees. True fact. Look it up. Fun and informative. Thanks, Miss Isley. The BOP and Catwoman are able to convince Ivy to help them fight off the bees that have come seeking revenge on TerraCare, and help them free the hostages. Batgirl even decides to use her own company, Gordon Clean Energy, to buy TerraCare and puts the company under Ivy's care, so she can rework their shitty product for good instead of evil. Get it? Fertilizer? Shitty? Yeah, I'm sorry. We next move on to a story that sees a virus devastating Gotham. A number of city officials are being forced to call in sick, and before long it becomes apparent that only the men seem to be affected. But it's not just some of the men. all men of Gotham are falling sick, and soon the hospitals are overflowing and they are forced to crowd the sick into Gotham Stadium. With all the men out of commission, all the ladies band together into one giant superhero team. And I do mean all the ladies. That's a lot of people for one super team. It's actually a bit problematic just from a logistical standpoint, getting everyone onto the page repeatedly and giving them all something to do and say, which does make for some kind of awkward dialogue moments. Even Amanda Waller shows up to take charge of the emergency situation, back to her classic look and not the new 52 young sexy Waller. I am a bit of a sucker for big superhero team-ups, especially when it's full of characters I already like this one is. And lots of the characters get little moments to shine and do something awesome or fun, and all told, this quickly becomes my favorite story in the comic. Our newly massive group of heroes manages to discover that a group calling themselves the Daughters of Gotham are behind the virus. The Daughters are led by a 100-year-old woman who has lived through many wars and the catastrophes of Gotham, watching men bring death and destruction everywhere they go. Sick of men and the way they're destroying the world, the Daughters have decided to clean out all men from Gotham so they can start over, raising a new generation of males to be different. But to do this means killing even good guys and innocent boys, and our heroes know that there are good men in the city that don't deserve punishment, or at least don't deserve to die, or at least don't deserve to die like this. Besides, as they learn at the end of the story, not everyone affected by the virus was actually male, so the Daughters' limited two-gender view of the world had some unintended consequences. Luckily, Poison Ivy and classic Batman character Dr. Lee Tompkins are able to work together to find a cure for the virus, while the rest of the team goes out to prevent Phase 2 of the Daughters' attack, a gas that activates the virus already inside men to kill them. The series ends with a story that basically ties everything together. Calculator, still obsessed with who Oracle really is, builds a robot called Burn Rate to help him track her down. He also has Burn Rate break Venice and Blackbird out of jail to help him take on the Birds of Prey. Sadly, Burn Rate also kills Gus, which really sucks. I'll admit, I initially found him as annoying as Helena and Dinah did, but he was the source of a lot of the fun in this comic, and he was a pretty enjoyable side character. Once we learn his backstory and about his disability, he becomes a pretty likable, sympathetic character, and it's pretty shitty to have him die like this. It's one of those moments that it was clear that the comic was ending and it was time to shut everything down and tie it up. Which is also why we bring together the various villains of the series into this story, and why, at the end, Batgirl fesses up to being the real Oracle. Of course, it ends up just being a bit of an I am Spartacus, no I am Spartacus moment, so Calculator is left not knowing how to compute. And you guys all remember Spartacus, right? Nobody? Okay then. So after only 22 issues and one special, Batgirl and the Birds of Prey comes to an end, with DC canceling the series in the wake of whatever big event was going on at the time. Man, even I can't keep track of all of them. Besides, it's time for the breakdown. I have to say, reading through this series again, I noticed a lot more problems than I remembered. There's a lot of awkward scenes and moments of kind of weird writing, and there's quite a few points where it definitely feels like there's more characters on the page than the Bensons knew how to handle. But it was their first comic book, and I have definitely seen worse first goes at trying to write comics than this one. Especially considering that their previous credentials mostly consisted of working on the train wreck that was the 100. It's pretty astonishing that they could come out with anything good, let alone something that proved to be so surprisingly fun, compelling, and entertaining. Also, both main series artists, starting with Claire Rowe and moving on to Roge Antonio, do a phenomenal job of keeping up with all the craziness, and Antonio's efforts to fit all those characters on the page during the Manslaughter story arc are, if nothing else, enjoyable to watch. And if I'm being honest, I enjoyed reading this series as it was coming out so much that it actually reinvigorated my interest in comics that had been somewhat killed, true story, by the new 52 Harley Quinn comic, among some others. This comic alone is the reason I'm actually doing these reviews, because I really wanted a platform to heap praise on this comic specifically. So, even despite its faults, what recommendation level can I give this series but? Very high. It succeeds at being a fun and exciting superhero comic, and it succeeds at being a very human and emotional comic, and I don't see many comics able to do both. The collected edition gets 3 grotesques. You know, gargoyles without the water feature? You can probably guess how that breaks down. While most trade collections have 4 to 6 issues per collection, volumes 1 and 2 here both have 7 issues, and volume 3 has 9. Each volume has a pretty good bonus cover gallery, and Volume 1 even has some bonus sketches, including the evolution of Huntress's awesome Rebirth costume. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope everybody's staying safe in these crazy times. If you're stuck indoors more than normal, then it's a perfect time to be watching more YouTube. So be sure to click that subscribe button to be here for more videos, and make sure to stick around for next time. Hope to see you then, right here in the Comic Cave.